Welcome back. It's 8:43. We just want to show you live pictures coming into us here at GB News. These are coming from the Rafah crossing, specifically from the Al Arish city in Egypt. And we can see a number of fuel tanks, which we believe are being accompanied by United Nations aid workers, aiming destination Gaza. But at the moment, nobody having been successful in making that crossing. We've been reporting all morning about the confusion with lots of civilians amassing on the other side, trying to get out of Gaza, Western Gazans, people with dual citizenship predominantly. And there was very much a diplomatic effort being led by the Americans to try and make this happen overnight. But the rumours of a ceasefire and indeed of the Rafah crossing being reopened have been, well, shot down, frankly, and told by Israel and Hamas that that is not happening this morning. But at the moment, those fuel vehicles trying to make their way into Gaza.
Tankers.
Tankers. What did I call them?
A fuel vehicle.
Fuel vehicle, fuel tankers.
Right, we'll get away from events in the Middle East now and we'll look at the lighter side of the news in the company of Dawn Neeson and Benedict Spence. Very nice to see both of you here. And Dawn, the big thing, pop royalty, Madonna is in London.
I have to admit, this is not my speciality subject, but it's a huge story. This is on pretty much most of the page one's mention of it, and this is a big spread in pages 2 and 3 of the Daily Mail with a pretty amazing picture of Madonna, who is playing 3 nights at London's O2 this week and then 2 coming up in December. And it was a tour she had to cancel because she had a knee put out.
She fell
65. I mean, she looks amazing. So, yeah, basically, they're sell-out concerts, but the audience, the mixed reviews from last night, a few technical glitches, but she pays most of her back catalogue. But the thing is that the ticket prices are astronomical. I mean, her demographic of fans are going to be of a certain age, so they are going to have the money probably to afford it. But an ordinary ticket, not on one of the resale sites, was like £400.
A resale will cost you at least £750.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like every gay man I know literally went to see Madonna this weekend. And because I live quite near the venue, I was walking through Canary Wharf, it was actually, and there was someone, you know, with the iconic pointy bra thing, there was a man coming towards me wearing one of those.
Of course.
And
dangerous.
It was certainly eye-catching in every sense of the word. So people seem to go and have a good time. But it was a mixed review, and she got her 2 daughters on stage as well, which is quite nice, or 2 of her daughters on stage as well to join in with her. But very saucy, and the fact that she's still doing it in her fishnets.
65, older than you, Eamonn.
Definitely.
I'm still
I wish I was in her condition. And she floats about the stage, and there's a lot of special effects.
Yes, there's lots of special effects, and she also, I mean, because there were security issues as well, because unfortunately every story does come back to what's going on in Gaza and Israel at the moment. She used to be a big supporter of Israel. She actually is a member of one of the branches of the Jewish faith. So there was a security risk going on as well. And this report does say there were a few empty seats last night, but maybe because people were concerned about the terror threats. So. But it's a bit of light relief when most of the papers are pretty grim today, to be honest with you.
If you asked me for a Madonna song, I would go Holiday.
Same. Or Vogue.
Really? Oh, what about you, Benedict?
Couldn't tell you.
You couldn't name a single Madonna song. You need to leave right now.
I'm going to see The Prodigy next month. That's
that gives us a flavour of what you're into.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's stay with the theme of hotels, because I'm sure Madonna, it's not really a theme, but I'm sure she was staying in a hotel. And lots of people were indeed. And apparently these specially trained sniffer dogs are the solution to this bedbug crisis.
Yes, it's a great time if you invested in bedbug sniffer dogs at some point in the recent past. This is your moment to shine.
What would you, Benedict? Right, I need a sniffer dog for bedbugs.
I don't know, somebody who's very sort of far-sighted, that sort of. But there's been a 25% increase in bedbug-related call-outs, according to one canine company. And this is, as you said, this is hotels reacting to the phenomenon that we're currently undergoing, which is these bedbugs coming from the continent. I mean, it does sound like a very odd thing to have to be saying, is that we've got an infestation of bed bugs, but they say that they don't expect it to last. This isn't going to be a permanent thing. I think maybe it'll be one of those things, a bit like how in the wintertime, before winter comes, the flea numbers go up and then they all sort of crash because it gets too cold for them to reproduce. So maybe that'll happen, but Isn't that
Oh,
exciting?
look at that. That's
a good
awful.
old-fashioned. Yeah,
that's on someone's leg.
It's a good old-fashioned reminder that the world is not left
That's
behind.
on the tube, They've infested the London Underground network, and they are also now, according to The Sun today, reached as far as Swindon.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, we should
They
point
get their
out they
skates
were
on, don't they?
already here before all of this going on in
They're
France.
just bigger and they're French, so it just makes it more funnier.
Let the details get in the way of a good story.
Now, talking about funny, in the Telegraph, Dawn, on the front page, they have got what would you call Richard Curtis, playwright or...
Yeah, I mean...
Rom-com king. No?
Blimey.
Is that on his
Very
LinkedIn,
tabloid,
maybe?
yes.
Don't you think
But yeah,
this is
Richard Curtis, he wrote 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, Love Actually and things like that, and he is being interviewed by his daughter, the lovely Scarlett, who is 28 years old, at the Cheltenham Literary Festival. And his daughter has pulled him up about the fat jokes he made in many, many of his films, which, as you know, 20, 30 years ago, I had some of them. And she is saying, you can't use the word fat anymore, Dad. So he is now saying, right, OK, I have told my daughter I will stop telling fat jokes in films. Now, this comes back to the age-old debate at the moment, is like, can you joke about anything, or are there some subjects that are off limits? And, you know, he goes, well, fat isn't funny anymore. And I'd sort of like just reading some of the stuff from 4 Weddings and a Funeral here, with the very emotional funeral scene, where Matthew, played by John Hannah, says at the funeral of his partner, I rang a few people to get a general picture of how Gareth was regarded. Fat seems to be a word most people connected with him, which I find quite funny.
Yeah, but you're not fat.
But I mean, I would probably... My husband's sort of like on the curvy side, I think I'm allowed to say that. So I would... If someone said that about the other half, I'd think that was quite funny.
What I find is there's so many things you can't joke about, but fat is definitely there. Fat and probably bald.
Right,
You're like,
yes.
and if you are fat and bald...
Ginger. Actually, you've just described my husband perfectly. Fat, bald, and was ginger. So, yeah, but, I mean... The thing is, the word fat, is that now so offensive we can't even use the word fat?
I don't think we should be erasing the word fat out of comedies and things from the past. I think particularly of one of the characters in 4 Weddings and a Funeral who was called Miss Piggy or something, who he used to date. She said, I've lost 3 stone since I went out. Do you remember her?
Yes.
I always felt a bit sorry for her. But you know, when my kids read Roald Dahl and, you know, shoot me down when I see it, when my kids read out the words, fat old, I don't like them saying it because I think it's impolite to refer to someone like that. So personally, I think the word fat isn't really
Is that
polite.
because the joke itself hasn't landed, or because the subject isn't?
I just wouldn't want them to repeat that word in the playground directed at another child.
I mean,
so
I saw Bridget Jones' Diary for the first time a couple of months ago. It was one of those things that sort of passed me by, and I do remember thinking, actually, it's a funny film, but I also remember thinking this wouldn't get made today. There are lots of things that would be, but that's the key
her
thing.
in her
It was
big
still
pants
funny.
and whatever wouldn't be...
Yes.
I don't think that you'd get that through. I don't think anybody would, but I still thought, actually, I can see why this is amusing, it's entertaining, and I do think also these things come in cycles. I do think that these things that we currently consider, you know, slightly off limits, they'll come back round again, because at some point people will want to push back against what is considered the consensus, and that tends to be how comedy works.
I mean, in that film, Bridget Jones, played by Renée Zellweger, does say she complains herself, I've got a bottom the size of Brazil. Which, sorry, it made you laugh.
women can relate to that.
Yeah,
we all,
absolutely.
you know, struggle, she says. Right, Dawn, let's talk about the Princess of Wales, who certainly doesn't have that problem. Blink and you'll miss her. Goodness me, there she was, flying the flag, but wearing white
She
for
was, obviously.
England
This is
in
our
the World Cup.
She's the lucky mascot. Kate helps rugby heroes over the line. This is it's in all the papers, and she does look rather gorgeous. Although going the opposite to the fat word, I think she does sometimes look rather slim. But I mean, obviously, she leads a very busy life. So she's in the dressing room with all the England rugby players who have just defeated our Fiji 30-24. Forgive me, I really don't do rugby. I'm a football girl. But she's in there with all these very, very, very fit young men, looking very, very...
Steady on.
But can I not do that either now?
No, you can't. I just find it funny. No, I just find it funny.
Men now either?
I'm
Is
sure
that
she
wrong?
didn't notice that they were
I've
really
squared
fit.
it with the male community. It's
Right,
OK. You can do it.
Thank
I
you.
speak on their behalf.
Yeah, the very handsome, attractive Benedict Spence at the end of the table there, and the very attractive, handsome Eamonn sitting between us. But we can say nice things about the opposite
No, I was
sex.
just laughing about whether or not she noticed. don't you think? You know, of course she didn't.
What do you
Happily
think?
I think you know.
She's not allowed to. She's not allowed to notice. She's married to the future
keeping her
king.
eyes-
She's off with her head.
She's keeping her eyes very front and centre, it has to be said.
No, it's always great to see that. I find it funny, the rivalry whenever it's England-Wales, obviously with her hubby being the patron for Welsh rugby.
Yeah.
Benedict, can we talk about a story which we'll be covering in the next hour here, which is sort of these plans the government are putting forward to deal with the crisis in our prisons, including pop-up cells in prison yards. That doesn't sound very secure. Tell us more. This is the front of the Times this morning.
I mean, we're only weeks on from a story where somebody did break out of prison, and now here we are saying, well, the prisons are all full. Some people might not be able to be given custodial sentences. Other less violent criminals might have to be let out because, again, lack of planning in the criminal justice system. It's one thing that has been hammered by successive governments simply because, you know, they thought it was an easy thing that you can cut resources to. But this is the Times saying that there will be pop-up prison cells. I mean, you know, answers on the back of a postcard. How on earth are you going to make those secure? What are they going to be, porter cabins? I have no idea how that's meant to work. But also deporting foreign criminals, like, you know, you would have thought that would have been a fairly standard procedure already. Apparently not. And making low-level offenders remove graffiti rather than go to prison will be part of the plan to increase the capacity. And I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to sound just sort of broadly negative. It's another example of a real sort of patchwork approach to politics in this country, where this has been something that lawyers have been warning for a very long time, the police have been warning about for a very long time, and the prison services have all been saying, look, we're at capacity right now. There needs to be more prisons. There needs to be more planning about how you do this. And nothing has been done. 13 years of Conservative government, and this government is maybe facing a general election defeat, not able to put
But listen, every general election that comes round, I hear about prisons being an issue and whatever, and we haven't got enough staff. And what politicians don't understand is the general public do not mind their taxes being spent on prisons.
Exactly.
They quite like the idea of locking people up. Well, we've got to let you two out, though. Dawn and Benedict, thank you very much indeed for reviewing the papers for us today and seeing what the stories are that are making the headlines. We'll be back, and we'll obviously have more on the Middle Eastern conflict.